South Plains Lanes in Lubbock, Texas. This is the 2019 PBA Lubbock Sports Shootout.
Practice time is now over. Again, 6 more games before we make our cut to the top 16 players. All bowlers that are bowling this morning will receive a check in the turn. Cash around players, once the scoring units are ready, lanes have been reset. Again, final 6 games of qualifying this year's PBA Lubbock Sports Open presented by Evan.
And with the announcements from Southwest Regional Manager and Tournament Director for this event, Pete McCordick, we are underway for Cashers Round here. I'm Phil Bridlow bringing you through this Cashers Round. 6 games of additional qualifying. Pinfalls carried over from yesterday's initial 8 games of qualifying for these players, and the top 16 players after their 14-game qualifying totals will advance to this afternoon's match play round beginning at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Kicking off with, I'm calling them our co-defending champions here, since Chris Barnes won last June here in Lubbock, and then when the event was moved to the Winter Tour on the Fox Sports 1 Finals, Dick Allen took the title down here in Lubbock in January. So since they're both within a year, I'm calling them co-champions. You may dispute that any way you like. That's a great part about America. We can settle our disputes amicably over 6 games of bowling today. Because no matter what, at the end of the day today, there's going to be somebody called the 2019 PBA Lubbock Sports Shootout Champion. And along with that title, they're going to take home $13,500. A.J. Johnson finished 9th in qualifying yesterday, plus 204. Chris Barnes 10th, plus 179. And Dick Allen had some struggles during the round early on, starting with games of 176, 194, but then put a few games together in the middle of the block, 220, 226, 238, 214 from games 3 through 6. And a 224 finish secured Dick Allen inside the top 39 that advanced to this morning's competition. Allen currently sitting in 35th place at plus 86. One may think it's not a great score, but scoring pace not overly high for a short 8-game qualifying block. And Dick Allen finds himself less than 70 pins out of 16th place. So plenty of room in 6 games to do some catching up for Dick Allen and get himself into a match play position. Once again, the top 16 players after 14 games of qualifying. The 8th thrown yesterday and the 6 qualifying games here in Cashers Round advanced to match play this afternoon. Give you a quick rundown of your top 10 on the squad this morning. Zeke Bayt, 300 game yesterday during his qualifying block, has him up at plus 355. 43 pins clear of Brad Miller in second. Miller plus 312. Tom Daugherty third, plus 272. A.J. Chapman fourth, plus 270. Don Barrett in fifth, plus 261. Frankie Lavoie trying to turn around a dismal 2019 to this point. Lavoie in 6th at plus 236. Lavery-Spahr of the Anthony variety in 7th at plus 206. Jake Peters 8th plus 205. A.J. Johnson 9th plus 204. And Chris Barnes in 10th plus 179. Bill O'Neill 14th after yesterday's qualifying at plus 157. Shawn Maldonado, 13th at plus 158. And Shawn Lavery-Spahr sitting in 33rd after yesterday's round at plus 91. So the pairings this morning, it's pretty easy. First two players on the pair on your left side, those are players starting on the low end of the house that were first, second, third, fourth, all the way across. Players on the right side, well, we started with 39th position, so that's why our pairing, yet you'll see a little later this morning, for 1-2 is Zeke, Bayt, and Brad Miller, along with Chris Vie. Vie was the number last night, plus 59. Just a single pin ahead of Michael Austin and Dylan Macon. Dylan works here at South Plains Lanes, and he was a little despondent last night after missing by a single pin. And Dylan had a bad game in game 4 when he moved from the high end of the house to the low end of the house after shooting 268. He went down to the low end of the house, shot 137. And he tried to make the big comeback. Final game with 237, but he ended up falling a pin short. But a good effort by the young man from here at South Plains Lanes, and I'm sure when we're back, you'll have a good chance of seeing Dylan Macon on the lanes once again during this Lubbock Sports Shootout event. Stu Williams stays with the front five. Of course, yesterday we saw quite a few high scores during the opening game of the block. Bowlers with their 15 minutes of practice on their starting pair. And then we saw a lot of players move pairs and saw a few do the old century drop. Start with 260, follow up at 160. Not easy going from pair to pair here at South Plains Lanes. Not easy going in any way, shape, or form on this Billy Hardwick 44-foot pattern. A little lower in volume, 24.5 milliliters. So these bowlers will be making changes quickly and subtly throughout the morning. You didn't see a lot of big zone moves yesterday. You saw a lot of small bounces as the lanes changed. A.J. Johnson trying to avoid back-to-back opens here. Just misses hitting the 3-pin. And trouble early for Johnson with 61 in the 4th. Zeke, Bayt, Brad Miller continuing to strike way down the lanes 3 and 4. Bayt's got a spare and a 5-bagger now. Brad Miller trying to match him. Miller front 5. Trying to get a few pins back on our day 1 leader, Zeke Bayt. And a great cover there by Maldonado. Big finish for Shawn. Got him up near the top 10 yesterday. 275, 237. Maldonado's final 2 games, and it was a good bounce back for him. He had 165 in game 6. Starting to slide the wrong way down the leaderboard. we got Stu Williams on the front bunch here, front 5 for Stu. Looking for the half dozen. Stu finished the day yesterday, 19th position, plus 135. Just a consistent day. He started off strong with 248. High game after that, just 236, but his low game, only one game below 200, and that was a 190. So consistency getting the job done for Stu yesterday, and he's looking once again for another hot starter out of the gate here in the opening game of Cashers round. Stu looking for the front 8. There it is. So we got the front 8 by Stu. We've got the front 6 looking at front 7 possibly for Brad Miller. And I believe there's a front 7. Can't see if he got the 10 down. Yes, he did. So Pate ends his string with a 210. Problem is with Brad Miller at the rate he's going right now, sure he's got the front 7, but he's only gained 10 pins to this point on Zeke Bayt. As Bayt is striking now 7-bagger through the 8th frame for Zeke Bayt, our day 1 leader. So things starting off on fire down in lanes 3 and 4. And Stu gets the messenger missing the 10 pin. And, yeah, I don't blame Stu for using that one single word to describe getting that messenger miss. It's a word we won't use on air ourselves, but those of you, it's a pretty easy lip read. And Barnes not happy with that result. He just turned around after a previous shot. He's looking at us towards the booth and just kind of a few shoulder shrugs and head shakes, and not the reaction he's looking for out there early this morning. For the man who won here last June, he didn't start off that hot yesterday. He started with 215 and a bunch of games in the 2 teens, 220s till he got to game 5 with 253. And his sole game under 200 yesterday was game 8, but he only dinged himself with a 198. So if Chris can get out of this game with another 210, maybe 220. He's sitting right now 117 in the 6th. He can get out of here with 237 with the last 5. John Rash made the big run to get into the top 39 yesterday. Well, Brad Miller front 8. Zeke Bayt just left a 6-pin. He went high in the 9th frame. So chance for Brad Miller to get a few pins back in our leader, but of course it's a long road today. 14 games of competition between the 6 games in this Cashers round and the 8 games of match play scheduled this afternoon. Of course, 7 scheduled match play games and the always important position round. You see Stu getting into your picture here shortly, as he's looking for the big 279 start. That'll get him well inside the top 16 after this first game. Of course, you want to be in that top 16 after game 6 this morning. Those are the players that make match play. And a few players, surprisingly, that missed Cashers round. Marshall Kent backed his way out with a bad game 8. Kent finished 186, 185, 189, 177 to miss the cut by 5 pins. Michael Holloman, our leading Rookie of the Year candidate, plus 47, missed the cut by 12. Wes Malott missed the cut by 17. Our reigning Player of the Year, Andrew Anderson, missed the cut by 26. So a few surprises there from players you would have expected to be a little closer to the cut. O'Neill with the safe sign. Possible 260. For the man from Langhorne, Pennsylvania. Oh, the infamous Langhorne Speedway back in the day. 2-mile dirt track. Giant circle for the old race fans. Brad Miller. Up in the 10th frame, and I do not believe he carried that first shot in the 10th. I have to take a peek here. He did carry the first shot in the 10th. So he's on the front 10, Zeke Bayt. Bayt's still going to have a solid game, but with only the 43 pin advantage, if Miller goes perfect, we'll have a new leader. Make it front 11 for Brad Miller. So Brad Miller looking for his 5th career perfect game. Been a couple years since Brad's had one on the PBA Tour. Last time he had one was at a regional event at Fire Lake Bowling Center in Shawnee, Oklahoma during a Southwest Regional Doubles event back in 2017. And you heard the hoot and holler down at the end, 300, Brad Miller. Game 1. We'll get you some highlights of that a little later this morning. You'll see that posted to FloBowling.com, and that's the one for the thumb for Brad Miller. So Barnes, first one in the 10th. He's in the 2 teens for sure. get to 227 with this. Nice finish by A.J. Johnson coming back after being at 81 in the 5th. Johnson responds with a 6-bagger. Chance for 231 for Johnson. And Dick Allen, who's got a long way to go and shorter amount of games to get there. Dick Allen can still shoot 239 as well. So player movement, new faces coming into the flow zone in game 2. 6-game cashers round rolls on here. The PBA Lubbock Sports Shootout from South Plains Lanes in Lubbock, Texas. Like our friends, the Beach Boys said, if you can't make it to Kokomo, start in Bermuda. That's where David Maycock's from. Going with Barrett and Francois Lavoie. And a man is working as hard as the bowlers are out there. The grand poobah of all things FloBowling, Lucas Wiseman, joining me in the booth this morning. And Lucas, you and your cameraman Greg got in the door this morning. You guys had your roller skates catch up what was going on in game one.
Yeah, I walked in the door. We got here about halfway through the first game, and I look up, and there's strikes for days. And what is going on around here? And then, you know, I saw Stu at the front eight and Brad Miller as well. And Brad Miller ended up finishing it off for the 300 game, moves into the lead, plus 412, 2 pins ahead of Zeke Bayt. So, yeah, that's and Zeke had 255. So, you know, it's just, if you look at the standings, which are updated now, and Phil can run through them, but just a lot of, you know, 250s, 260s that first game.
Yeah, only one really big ding in our top 10, and that's A.J. Chapman. A.J. Chapman falls down to 9th after a 150 start. So we'll have to see how A.J. does and tries to bounce back from that. But as Lucas mentioned, Brad Miller, now your leader at that plus 412 mark. Zeke Bayt just 2 pins behind, and then a big gap back, 116 pins back to Barrett. Barrett started with 233, gets him to plus 294. Francois Lavoie, he's looking for this to be his turnaround event in 2019. Lavoie, 254 his opening game, gets him up to plus 290 in 4th. Jake Peters up to 5th, 267 start, gets Peters up to plus 272. Tom Daugherty in 6th, 199 start, doesn't ding Tom too badly as he's at plus 271. A.J. Johnson, you saw his 231 in the flow zone, gets him to plus 235 overall. In 7th place, this man here, Kyle Troup, in 8th. 258 opening game, moves Kyle up to plus 227. I mentioned A.J. Chapman dropping to 9th at plus 220. Chris Barnes, even though Barnes, he wasn't too happy with his ball reaction in game 1. Strong finish, finished the last 5 for 227, gets him to plus 206 in 10th. Right now, the cut number, if we would have ended after 9 games for the top 16th place is Dylan Burns at plus 172. And a good start for Greg Young. 256 for Greg Young, for a guy who looked like he was just going to squeak into the cashes round this morning. Greg Young starts at 256. He moves all the way up into 15th position.
I'm telling you, that kid's going to win one day. And it's not going to be a surprise to me, and it probably won't be a surprise to you, Phil. One of these days, Greg Young is going to win a PBA Tour title. Just like one day, Cameron Doyle is going to win a PBA Tour title. They're just the young guys who are getting their heads kicked in, and it's only a matter of time before. I mean, that's the next generation, those guys. You know, Cameron and Greg and Michael Holloman and Packy Hanrahan and, you know, all those guys that are rookies this year. And last year, that's the next generation, and they're coming on. They're going to be pretty tough to beat eventually.
Yeah, and we had E.J. Tackett in the booth yesterday, and he talked about it. A lot of times with these young guys, it's, you know, learning where to gather the pins and learning sometimes where you just need to just grind out a pair. You get to that pair, you know, okay, that reaction's not great. If I can get off this pair with deuce, I'm fine. Where a lot of these kids, they try to push, and they end up turning a possible 200 game into a 140 or 150. And it's learning that part of the game. And it's not as much the physical part in a lot of cases. It's the mental part. It's reading what your ball's doing right, making that adjustment, and then not forcing it.
Well, we talked, and I mentioned this yesterday, we're working on a feature that's going to come out in a couple of weeks on what it's like to be a rookie out here. And we talked to Greg Young and Michael Holloman yesterday, and they both said the exact same thing, which I found really interesting. They both said that when they came out here, they realized they had to change their ball roll because their ball roll wasn't conducive to the patterns and the breakdowns out here with these guys because it's so much different than what they had faced in either college or amateur competition. So it was interesting to me that they both said that exact same thing. And you'll learn more about that in a couple of weeks when we have that feature for you on FloBowling.com.
I would like to be what you should have done with this today after Holloman's finish yesterday is should have stuck a GoPro in his truck as he made that 12-hour drive back to Memphis today. Or I think he may have even left last night. Looking at his Facebook page, he definitely was very disappointed. Made some mistakes and missed the cut by less than 20 pins.
He said that he would have been more mad if he had struck out that last game.
Yeah.
He would have been plus 58 and he would have missed by a pin. He said he would have been more mad. So he wasn't totally like distraught, but he was still a little annoyed. But he bowled really good the last 2 games to put himself in a position, but it just wasn't enough. But he's having an okay year. He's made the league and had that nice second place finish at the Masters. So right now Michael Holloman he's the front runner for the Rookie of the Year in my opinion, even though it's based on a vote. I think that as of this moment, he's the guy if we voted today. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funniest part is if you look at the last couple of seasons with Rookie of the Year, they win the Rookie of the Year. It's kind of gone, okay. Where's Matt Sanders been? Where's Cam Doyle been? And if that's the case with Mike Holloman, what's he going to do the next year? We've got Francois Lavoie in the flow zone this game. He won it in 2016. He's won some titles since he was Rookie of the Year. Obviously, Jesper Svensson, 2015, same thing. Marshall Kent, EJ Tackett, Josh Blanchard. You go all the way back to 2012 with Josh. These guys have had their rookie season and then still continue to make a mark on the PBA Tour. We're still waiting for that from Matt Sanders. Still waiting for that from Cameron Doyle. Yes, it's a shorter period of time, but Josh Blanchard didn't wait 3 years to win his first title. Marshall Kent was a winner right away. EJ Tackett, it took EJ till 2015 to win, but since he's won that first one, he's won 11 more. So it's
always interesting to me when left-handers win Rookie of the Year because, as you know, Phil, it's really hard to be a left-hander out here on the PBA Tour. We did a story on that on FloBowling, and it's just a tough go on the left side a lot of times. A lot of times they don't have it, and more times than not they don't have it. And you've got to throw the ball really great, like Rhino did in a stretch this season, to be able to make any money and make cuts. And then other weeks, they got the nuts on the left side, and Michael took full advantage of that at the Masters and was able to make the show. But it's tough. I wouldn't want to be a left-hander out here on the PBA Tour. But he's making the best of it so far this season.
You look at the last 3 Rookies of the Year off the left side. Rhino Page, he's had feast or famine for several seasons now. Scott Norton no longer on tour.
Yeah. Matt Sanders.
And Jesper Svensson. I'm sorry, I forgot about getting up to Matt there. So you look at the last 4. And Jesper had some success early on in 2019 as well, but rapidly fell off.
Yeah.
After the first few events.
It's tough. So Phil, why are the scores so high this morning? I know that it's pretty often when you get when you condense the field into the best bowlers that the scores go up, but they went up quite a bit. What did you see that you think that made the scores go up so high this morning, first game?
They're just staying farther right. I don't know if they had a powwow during the in the paddock this morning while they were talking. Everybody stay farther right. The pattern will hold up a little bit better, but that's what usually happens. Is we usually see once we get through the initial part of the tournament. You get rid of the players that were, the sprinklers and struggling a little bit, and you see these guys kind of migrate back to the area of the lane where they think they're going to score better as a group, as a whole, and we saw everybody in practice just stay out to the right. And I don't think you're going to see the big jumps. This hard work pattern isn't conducive to a zone move. It's very conducive to the subtle moves as the day progresses. And you may see some players start to migrate left. You may see some players simply make a ball change and stay right like we saw Chris Barnes do most of the day yesterday. So Barnes struggling a little bit this morning over on 19 and 20. Right now he's gone Dutch for the first 5 frames, assuming he makes his 2-pin that he had standing.
And the reality is on the PBA Tour, when you give these guys an opportunity to bowl 8 games on a pattern, a lot of times they're going to come back the next day on the same pattern and they're going to bowl better because they've learned and they've adapted, and that's why they're the best in the world. And so you see some of that as well.
Right.
And it's only 6 games today, so in this morning's session, so it's 2 less games. There's less on a pair. You would think that they would break down a little bit less with fewer bowlers and less games.
Yeah, the one thing that'll happen a little bit quicker, though, is that down lane, you'll get that cliff developing a little bit quicker because they've all migrated to that same area of the lane, down lane as well. And so that cliff becomes a little more distinct. All of a sudden, that slight miss right, because they've opened it up, will all of a sudden jump through the nose. And it's not your league bowler miss right. You know, we obviously missed 4 boards and the ball overreacts. I mean, this is a board to the right, and all of a sudden the ball, you know, jumps 4 pin high or worse into the pocket. So you'll really see these guys, you know, you'll see guys talking to each other during this qualifying round, because if you can get information from your opponent, that's, you know, or a fellow player on the lanes right now, you know, if you share a little information, you might get that key to make that small move. I guarantee it's not going to happen in match play. You know, the attitude for the players is, oh, well, I find it first, I'm taking advantage of it. You know, this kind of thing right now, you'll see what these guys are doing, and there'll be a little chatter behind the lanes. Hey, did that actually just do that to your ball? And,
I wonder, Phil, if the guys starting more to the right will ultimately help a guy like Belmonte, who's down in 29th place currently at plus 128. Will it create a spot where he's able to just kind of throw it out there and he's going to have a little bit of room, or just have to wait and see for that?
I think the friction in the front part of the lane, I think that kind of takes that advantage away from Belmo. I think at this point in time, he could get a different piece of his hand and fully prove me wrong or change up his ball roll.
And he has limited equipment this week, by the way.
Yeah.
He only has, I think, 6 balls with him.
So, and that could be, you know, part of the key right there, too, is that something is just not the 100% matchup. You can be at an 80% matchup out here, but you're still giving away pins to everybody in the field in that case. Well, Frankie got the 10 to dance there for a second, but wasn't over on the 7-pin side.
So there's a couple of guys who are kind of outside the cut number right now, which is kind of interesting. Jakob Butturff is in 25th place, and he's loved this place, you know, over the years. You know, he's won a couple of times here, and you know, he's a big fan of South Plains lanes, but not so much today. He only had 204 his first game. He's plus 145, and currently he's not that far behind the cut. He's 27 pins back, but he's outside of the number. Dick Allen, who won here back in January, is 30th place. He's plus 125, so he's almost 50 pins outside of the cut right now. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see if some of those guys, and then, of course, Belmo, we mentioned him, he's in 29th place. So you got some guys who are going to have to push here. We only have, you know, 4 more games to go after this one, so it's a pretty short time to make a run.
Well, you look at the scores of the guys that are currently outside that top 16, and there's only 4 guys that had games 240 or higher. You know, it's the guys that had it yesterday, you know, that found it early with the 300 by Brad Miller, the 255 by Zeke Bayt, 254 by Lavoie, you know, 267 by Jake Peters. The guys that kind of found it yesterday, most of them still had it, AJ Chapman being the exception. You get outside that top 16, there's a lot of scorers, there's a lot of 190s, 200s, 210s, where those guys are going to need bigger scores to make the move as these guys in the top 16 keep finding success. I mean, 256 for Greg Young, 248 for Darren Tang, 268 for Stu in game 1. I don't see those guys giving it back that quickly when they find it that early. The lanes aren't going to change as drastically as they did with 4 in a pair yesterday. A
big game, though, can make a big difference. We saw that with David Maycock from Bermuda. He was in 37th place, plus 78. He shot 278 to double his plus, and he moved up to 21st place. And so in one game, he went from 37th to 21st with a 278. So the big opportunity is out there if you can still put up a big game, because like you said, those guys under the number didn't shoot huge that first game. It was the guys who were in the top 16 really shot the big number.
Well, the problem is for Maycock, if he's not striking, he's putting 7 and 2 on the board this game. And he's going to change that now with a ring and 10 pin. But he's sitting on 65 in the 5th.
So he had that big jump, but he's not been able to maintain it.
How many times did we see it yesterday?
Yep.
Start with a hot game and go 80 or 100 less than that, moving pairs.
And we do often see out here the first game of a block like this, the scores be pretty high because they've had 10 minutes of practice or 15. I don't know how much they got this morning. But they are able to break them down and get comfortable on that pair. And then in a place like this where you have to move, and everybody has said they're pretty challenging pair-to-pair on this lane surface, you know, you go from breaking them down the way you want to now to a pair where you didn't break them down, but you've got to play on them, and it could be a much tougher pair. So,
it's kind of funny. Over on 19 and 20, we got A.J. Johnson stepping up. He's on a spare in the next 6. Dick Allen's got a 279 possible going through 7 frames, and Chris Barnes just went back-to-back opens, and he's got 116 in the 7th. You know, you got 2 guys that are just absolutely locked in, and then a guy that can't get the corners to fall. You know, Barnes has got 3 9 counts. He's got a 9 split miss up there in the 6th.
Scores don't seem as high this game, not even close. A.J. Johnson is an exception. He's spare 7-bagger this game. And then also Dick Allen he's making his move here. He went 230 last game, double 9 spare 4-bagger this game. So Dick Allen is starting to make his move as he tries to move up into the cut number. And Chris Barnes is struggling here after a couple opens.
I don't know. I'm trying to see way down at like 35 and 36. I don't know if that top bowler down there's got a big string. It's hard to see when you're 20 ways away. Yeah, I don't think that's a big string down there.
It may have been a big string at one point, but it's ended.
Okay.
That's the great thing about the scoreboards here. You can tell when there's a big string because it doesn't add up the scores until the end. Tom Daugherty looks like he's putting up a big game. I think that's him on 11. A.J. Chapman doing a little bit better after the 150 disaster start. He could strike out 9th and 10th for 228. Here's David Maycock. This game's been a disaster for him. He's going to be, at best case scenario, in the 190s and kind of give up all the momentum he picked up in that first game.
I mean, Bermuda, not exactly a large island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I'm sure there's just a single bowling center there for him.
Well, back when I covered some of the World Championships and stuff when I worked at USBC, I saw David bowl for Bermuda in some of those international tournaments, whether it was PabCon or Worlds, and they actually had a pretty decent team. They had some help from, I think Timmy Mack was helping them for a little while. They were probably paying him in vacations or something, But they have got some talented players actually in Bermuda. But like I said, it's tough when you live in Bermuda to get a lot of competitive experience because you got one bowling center if you're lucky in a place like that. Yep.
There used to be a PBA East Regional. It was either East or South Regional out in Bermuda.
Sounds like they need to bring that back, and we need to stream that on FloBowling.
There's 2 bowling centers in Bermuda. One is Strikes Bowling Lounge, and the other is Warwick Lanes. I'm familiar with Warwick Lanes because that's where the regional was at.
That's where they play, I believe.
And it's actually owned by the Bermuda Bowling Club.
There you go.
So I've often wondered why more bowling centers haven't gone to a club type situation for league players. It's pretty prevalent in a lot of other areas of the world. Pay your annual membership fee, bowl your leagues, get your practice in. I would think that'd be kind of advantageous for players and bowling centers.
Here's AJ. Oh my goodness. 9-pin.
That's a
unbelievable.
Soul-sucking 9-pin right there.
He's looking at us, giving us a thumbs up. Yeah, we see you. And that's a 9-pin on an 8-bagger. Thank you very much.
Take that, you Disney prince.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal right there.
And meanwhile, Chris Barnes trying to save 200, which he had the last 5 last game for 220. You see him talking to himself on the way back again. It took me 8 frames to figure out what in God's name is going on here.
It's a big move this game for AJ, though. He shot 231 the first game. Let's see if he makes it before I do any further prognostication. And he does. So he's going to be, 269 or 269 this game. So he was sitting in 7th place at plus 235. This is going to put him more than 300 over, and potentially, move up a couple of spots. He's going to be right there.
Absolutely.
It's a big game for him.
Yep. Of course, smart thing to do. AJ after that gets another ball out of the bag. Time to see what happens. Now, if you noticed on that spare ball for AJ, you actually notice that ball start to pick up in the front part of the lane. The big thing the players have to combat here on this lane surface, it's an older Brunswick, first generation Pro-Am lane surface. It's got some replacement panels in the front over the years, so you still get a bit of friction in the front part of the lane as this pattern breaks down. And that ball for AJ, I think you saw that on the 9-pin on his spare, and so he's grabbing the other ball, making the change.
Yeah, always good to take a look and see what else is out there, even if you're shooting 260. And
yeah, that ball definitely much cleaner for Johnson through the fronts.
It'll be interesting to see what Dick Allen finishes with here. He's got a big game going, and he pretty much needs it. He's currently outside the number.
And once again, these guys aren't really worried right now about how close they are to the top 4. It's how close they are to the top 16, because even with just 8 games of match play, if you can get a 7-1 or 8-0 match play record and make up 60, 90 pins against others in the field, you're going to have a great option. So Barnes finishes with 202 after another look with another ball. And Dick Allen's going to finish out strong in this game, possible 279. We'll let Dick Allen finish. We'll have player movement in Game 3 of this 6-game Cashers round coming up next here from Lubbock, Texas, and the Lubbock Sports Shootout from South Plains Lands.
At least it hooks every time.
There's a surprise. Everybody goes to 19 and 20, and they wonder why their ball doesn't hook on the first shot. This pair all weekend seems to play a little bit tighter than other pairs nearby. And those that hit it yesterday maybe remember that. Those that didn't, it's not like anybody's going to tell them, hey, that pair is playing tighter. Great cover, though, by Chapman on the 2-4-8-10 to get things started. That's a little morale booster right there. Waiting on the 10-game scoring update, 8 games from yesterday. 2 games kicking off things this morning on the 6-game cashers round here from South Plains Lanes in Lubbock. Brad Miller is still your leader after 10 games. Gave a couple pins back, though. 187 game. Dropped him back to 399. To the positive, Zeke Bayt, 34 over on the day. Sub 200 game for Bayt in game 2, but he's still in second, plus 389. Barrett trying to close the gap between himself and third in the top 2. Barrett, 46 over on the day, 307 over on the event. Big move early by A.J. Johnson. A.J. Johnson plus 100 for his first 2 to get to plus 304 in fourth. And Tom Daugherty, this man, just 25 over on the day, but the solid day time had yesterday leaves him in fifth at plus 297. Peters, Lavoie, Tackett, Chapman, and Troup round out your top 10. A.J. Chapman, 207 in game number 2 to get to that plus 227. Your big mover this morning, though, E.J. Tackett, 121 over for Tackett. His first 2 games, 241 and 280 for Tackett to get up into 8th for the man that won this event in 2015. Darren Tang, 64 over on the block. He's in 11th, plus 215. That's a pinup on Stu Williams. Anthony Lavery-Spahr, 13th at plus 209. Lavery-Spahr just 3 over on the day, however. Chris Barnes hanging on to 14th, 29 over on the day, and that's a big grind for Barnes to get to plus 208. Dylan Burns, plus 57 on the day, gets him up to plus 191 overall. And Greg Young, your man on the number now. Young slowed down a little bit in game 2, 209 game after his 256 start, so plus 65 on the day. For Greg Young, gets to the plus 184. But Dick Allen just 3 behind. Nick Pate, 8 behind. Lavery-Spahr, the Shawn variety, 12 behind. And John Montgomery, 16 behind. So lots of players right on the tail of Greg Young. And the only player I would realistically say probably out of it right now. A couple of them. Chris Vi, 27 under on the day, plus 32. Cam Doyle, 21 under on the day, plus 46. And Tommy Jones, 36 under on the day, drops in the plus 71. Those guys would need miracle 4-game finishes to get themselves back up into the top 16. Is it possible? Absolutely. You take Zeke Bayt's 3 best games yesterday, and that was about an 840 series. Can one of those 3 find lightning in a bottle and get to that point? Absolutely possible. Another guy's going to have to find lightning in the bottle. Jason Belmonte, Belmo just 15 over on the day to get to plus 128. It's 31st position. And sometimes it's just not about the number of pins you're behind. I mean, yes, Belmo right now, no, he's 60, you're not even 60 pins behind Greg Young. Problem is, there's 16 other bodies in his way. And most of those 16 other players are still going to bowl very well. You're not going to find that many players all of a sudden start to bowl badly. So Belmo could get hot here, throw some big games, but he's going to have to make sure other players don't do the same. Well, A.J. Chapman finding trouble early. He left a 2-4-8-10. He converted. Then he made the move over on lane 19. Went high. 3-4-6-7. He only got 2 on that spare attempt, so Chapman's got to figure out what's going on there. You see Daugherty comes light, makes the move, goes high, leaves the split. This is not a favorite pair for a lot of players. It seems to be either they shoot 250 like A.J. Johnson did last game on this pair, or they shoot 150. For Barnes to get out there and grind out a 2-0, that seems to be a little unusual here, and that's half for Chapman. When your average pinfall is 5.3 for your first 3 shots, or 5.6, you know you're not in the right spot on the lane. Wow, and Chris Fye almost left 5-7-10 next door. Once again, Billy Hardwick pattern. It's the subtle moves. If you catch them, you can score a ton. If you miss it, you can struggle, like Daugherty and Chapman are doing at the beginning of this game. E.J. Tackett continuing the hot run. He's 121 over on the morning so far. Tackett down at 11-12 out of flow zone coverage. Starts game 3 with a 4-bagger spare strike. And they had a chance to talk to E.J. Tackett from Bowl Expo, Tim Berg, in that podcast on FloBowling.com. You get a little mindset of what E.J. Tackett thinks when he walks into every bowling center, every tournament. Take a listen to that between blocks today, because you'll have a little bit of a break after we're done with this Cashers round. They will recondition the lanes for match play with a fresh application of this Billy Hardwick pattern. And then we'll start match play at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time. See what Chapman can do to try to recover from last time on that lane. Gets to the pocket finally, but the wrap 10. And the wry smile from Chapman on the way back. Gets the ball to do what he wanted to do for the first 3 frames, but cannot still put the big X on the board. Let's stay with Chris Barnes here for a second, because if he doesn't get this out to a 3-bagger this frame, something tell me there may be a little self-conversing on the way back. He struggled early the first 2 games, and that 6-pin just lays flat. And he's taking a look going, why didn't that react the way it was supposed to? Barrett games with 233, 213 to start today. Gee, another 9-pin. We've only seen a few of those already this morning. Of course, these shallower angles the bowlers are playing to get to the back part of the lane. With 16 feet of dry, that ball will have a tendency to get very angular when it gets into the 1-3. And Belmonte, it's not too often you see Belmo turn around on a bad shot the instant it's out of his hand, like he did right there. But happy to see a lot of these guys stuck around after Bowl Expo. Took the short 2-hour flight from Las Vegas here. A lot of guys like Don Barrett, Jason Belmonte could have simply just went home after that big convention out in Vegas. But they love the competition. Any chance to get a PBA title, especially for Jason Belmonte chasing the Player of the Year, trying to lock it down early.
The one nasty one, the 7 fell like
And Johnson back to striking. Yeah, right now there's a dozen players within 30 pins of the 16th position. So it's going to be down to the last ball thrown, I'm sure, for deciding who our top 16 are going to be getting into match play this afternoon. And don't forget, after we end our coverage here in Lubbock, Texas, for this Lubbock Sports Shootout presented by Ebonite, coverage begins first thing tomorrow from Bolero Sawgrass Lanes in Tamarack, Florida, and the 2019 Teen Masters begins their qualifying here on FloBowling. 3 days qualifying, 2 days of match play as they determine out of over 250 bowlers the best high school and middle school players in the country. So make sure you get yourself a reminder to watch those rounds live here on FloBowling, or you can always catch the archives at any time after those rounds are completed. And once we're done with the Teen Masters, a couple days for you to catch up on all the features at FloBowling.com, catch up on some replays of rounds of qualifying or match play or step ladders you may have missed so far in 2019, and we'll get back to you a week from Monday on the PBA 50 Tour, probably a week from Tuesday on the PBA 50 Tour, as we'll be up in Monticello, Minnesota, and the River City Extreme Open as we make our way through the Midwest for the final stops of the PBA 50 Tour for 2019. Can someone catch Walter A. Williams Jr. for the Player of the Year race in those last several stops? Or will Walter A. finally break the tie he's in with John Handegard for the career PBA 50 titles list? Wow, that is just an 8-pin for Barnes that will rip out a piece of your heart and throw it right in the ditch. EJ Tackett just struck first ball of the 10th frame. Tackett's going to be in the 240s this game with another strike. Tackett continuing his charge up the leaderboard this morning. Tom Daugherty going, where did my great reaction from earlier go to now? As Daugherty was in 5th. And that's rapidly sliding backwards as he's looking at his 3rd split of this game and the almost impossible conversion for the 2, 8, and 10. Brad Miller slowing down a little bit. He's outside of flow zone coverage right now. Miller 123 in the 6th spare in the 7th. Zeke Bayt's going to pass him for the lead again this game at this rate. Bayt looking at 268 with 2 frames to go. Bayt just a couple of single pins in the 5th and 6th frames, the only blemishes on the scorecard this game. Tackett does finish with 237, so nothing like a little 758 for the first 3 for EJ to continue to climb the leaderboard. Another guy with the hot hand trying to get back in the climbing mode here, A.J. Johnson. And that's the turkey for Johnson. Well, never say die for Belmo. Belmo's going to be stepping up in the 9th frame with a chance still for 258. Once again, Belmo currently in 31st. It's just 60 behind 16th, but it's getting rid of all those other bodies in the way. Try to get past them into the top 16. Belmo can shoot 252. He'll be stepping up in the 10th frame. Tommy Jones on a solid game as well. Jones here, chance for 290. Well, still a chance for 267 after that 3-6-10. Once again, though, Tommy Jones plus 71 coming into this game. 113 outside the number. Yes, he'll make a bunch back. But a lot of players in the way. So Zeke Bayt's going to be your new leader after game 3. As Bayt just struck in the 9th, he can shoot 268. Brad Miller's maximum in this game is going to be 211. Miller started with the front 4 and then went back-to-back opens and 3 straight single pins for Miller. I don't know if Tommy hurt himself there. He wasn't happy at the release on that 3-6-10. He's kind of stepping it off, sitting down to the side. Hopefully there's just a little stick and no major damage caused to Jones. And Belmo being the 230s, almost 240, depending on his count, on that 12th ball. So once again, time running out for these players as we're reaching the halfway point in Cashier's Round qualifying. 3 games remaining here from South Plains Lanes in Lubbock, Texas. The 2019 PBA Lubbock Sports Shootout presented by Ebonite rolls on. You're watching it in the Flow Zone. And if you're not watching it on FloBowling, stop being a pirate.
Cody and Shawn are there, you never know. I'm like, it's got to the point where it would have to be like the most epic chase of all time. Yeah, but I mean, like, they need like 8.2 and over for like 35 overs. Yeah, I mean, at some point, like, they just can't get there. I mean, like, 8.2 for the last 15 overs is a lot. For the last 35. They now need 8.26 for the last 34 overs.
Oh, the man with the hottest hand in Lubbock right now is this man stepping up on lane 24. EJ Tackett. 758 for his first 3 games this morning. For the man that won here in 2015. Could have won again in 2017, but his good friend Marshall Kent took that title match. And I was kind of goofing around with EJ yesterday. It's 9-number year here in Lubbock. You got to get in that championship match once again. And apparently taking those words of advice to heart right now with this charge up the leaderboard. couple players with Brad Miller and Zeke Bayt. Bayt will be your leader once again after 11 games once we get that full update. Trying to stretch their advantage out over Don Barrett and A.J. Johnson and the rest of the field. A lot of players bunched up between that 10th and 30th spot as we try to get to our top 16 for match play this afternoon at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Here's our two leaders with Bayt and Miller on 29 and 30. Chris Vai joining that twosome. The only thing faster than that 8 count for Tackett is his rise up the leaderboard this morning. He's up in the 7th place with that plus 158 for his first 3 games, plus 275 overall. But that still has him 200 pins behind our leader. This man here, Zeke Bayt, plus 475 with that big game 3 for Zeke. As he closed out the deal for 2. Oh, hold on, that's going to have to be corrected. That's a 268 for Bayt, and they have him in as a 286. So we'll get that to the tournament office. So he'll still be our leader, though. His plus count will just be at 453. Brad Miller second plus 409. Don Barrett third plus 344. Jake Peters fourth plus 343. And A.J. Johnson fifth at plus 341. Of course, the top 4 will make the step ladder later today. So if you're in 5th today, after match play is done, you're in that heartbreak spot. Lavoie, Tackett, Tang of the Darren variety. Stu Williams, Tom Daugherty round out your top 10. Daugherty, 26 under on the day. And of course, you saw it here in the flow zone. Lanes 19 and 20, bit Daugherty for a 149 in game 3. '16th place right now, Chris Barnes. Barnes 32 over on the day, keeps him at plus 211, but he's only 7 pins up on Dylan Burns, 16 up on Joe Grondin. Nick Pate only 24 behind, and don't look now, but Jason Belmonte, after shooting 237 in game 3, Belmo now just 45 pins behind the number 16 spot. Belmo 53 over on the day to get to plus 166. And there's a lot of players right behind Belmo as well. Lavery-Spahr, the Shawn variety at 163 over. Maldonado 161 over. Butturff 159 over. Rash 158 over. Bidwell 153 over. Allen 152 over. Yeah. It's a big log jam for those players trying to get into the top 16, and even from 16th to 12th, it's only 19 pins. Lavery-Spahr, the Anthony variety, at plus 230. Greg Young plus 222. Cal Troup plus 216. And Josh Blanchard just 2 pins ahead of 16th place Chris Barnes at plus 213.
Well, you kind of figured that Jason Belmonte was going to make a run at some point, and he's starting to. He had that 238 last game, which is a big game when you're down in the bottom half, and he's moving up the standings. He's moved up to 20th place, as you mentioned, plus 166, just about 45 pins or so off the show right now, or sorry, off the cut right now. We're not to that point. We're getting there. But yeah, so and Jakob Butturff also looks like he made a little bit of a move that game. moving up to 23rd place, 225. So,
well, a guy that's got to change things around really quick. He's over at 19 and 20, and that's Greg Young.
yeah.
And Young is now looking at his third open in the first 5 frames here, as he needs to convert a washout.
You keep talking about it. 19 and 20 it's a tough pair. We've seen it gobble up people all the time today, and you know, Greg is he makes the washout there. But we just saw, who was it? Tom Daugherty bowl 140 there.
149.
Yeah. So that's a tough pair. And Greg is, you know, he's just above the number, so he's in 13th place, plus 222, only 18 pins above the cut, above, you know, 17th place right now. So he cannot afford to bowl a bad game.
I mean, anybody from 8th down, you look at Darren Tang, he's only 40 pins ahead of 16th. I mean, it is a tightly bunched field from 8th all the way down to 24th, 25th. Somebody throws a 270 game, another guy throws a 160 game, and they're swapping spots where they are on the standings. And it's going to come down to the last ball thrown in Game 6 to figure out who our top 16 is going to be. It's not even worthwhile to try to predict who it's going to be right now.
Yeah, we've only got 2.5 games to go. So, you know, this is the time to start making the push, especially for those guys like Butturff and Belmonte who are out of the number to get there. Butturff is on 15 and 16 this game, and it's clean through 6, 105 in the 5th.
Yeah.
You know, so he can strike out for 255, which would be really huge if he can get there. You can see him right there.
Yeah, there's 100 pins between 8th and 26th right now.
Yeah, anybody can still make it pretty much. I mean, it's just, especially if you can toss 250, 260, you're going to move up quite a bit. And because we saw huge scores that first game, and then it's really tapered off since then. It's not been quite as crazy.
Geez, another washout for Greg Young Jr. on 19 and 20.
Super washout. You ever watch our Thread the Needle videos on FloBowling, or the guys
I haven't caught the Walter Ray one yet.
Yeah, that one just came out. That one just debuted.
Yeah.
But we have them try to get the ball between the super washout, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, the Marshall Kent one was fun.
Yeah.
And I haven't caught the other ones yet.
I'm looking forward to the
Walter. I'm looking forward to the Walter Ray one. That should be interesting.
Yeah, we've got a Barnes one and an open frame there for Greg. We've got Shawn Rash. Got one with him coming out. We've got one with Stu Williams. So it's just kind of a fun little thing. I tell you what, Phil, I bowled Nationals a couple weeks ago. I left the super washout 4 times. How good was my ball reaction? I made it 3 times.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so
that's even more. It's more impressive than leaving them.
75% spare conversion on the super washout.
Here's Bayt looking for his first double of the game. There it is. And you just see how soft the hand is for Bayt. He's talking on Facebook yesterday about how he's been making some grip changes and stuff and trying to get his ball roll to match up what he sees out here. And he's done a lot of stuff over the last few months with his pro shop guy back home in Ohio.
I don't know a lot about Zeke Bayt, except that he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy. And, you know, he seems to enjoy life and enjoy bowling out here the times that we see him. I've seen him a little more regularly, I think.
He bowled a lot in 2017 and a little bit early in 2018. Didn't see him at too much of the Winter Tour stuff this year.
I know I saw him a couple times.
Yep, we saw him at the World Series.
Yeah.
Didn't have a great World Series. Finished 65th here in January. His only cash this season was back at the Players' Championship near home in Columbus, where he finished in 21st position, made match play there. Other than that, yeah, his efforts in the World Series, not great. His high finish was 41st in the Scorpion Championship. And that's where he really decided that it's time to work on things. He's got some downtime, so didn't obviously make the playoffs or anything. So he could take some time and bowled the regional close to home back in April and finished in 6th place in one in Grove City, Ohio. It was only PBA action since the end of the Winter Tour, and another open frame.
The rookie is collapsing, 87 in the 7th. It's a disaster for Greg Young right now.
And it's just a matter of all of a sudden you make that move, and we saw it with Daugherty, and we saw it a little bit with A.J. Chapman on that pair where they make that slight move, and they've hit that bit of a cliff that's open on that pair, and all of a sudden the ball overreacts when it gets that little bit right, and it goes right through the face. That pair just seems to react differently to the cliff than a lot of other ones do as the block goes on. And for some of these guys coming up in Game 6, Richie Teese and Shawn Rash and Darren Tang are going to hit that pair in Game 6, and that Shawn Rash saw that this morning and went, "You have to be kidding me." Same thing probably for Darren Tang as well. Like, I have to finish on that pair? Come on.
We'll see. Sometimes these guys are pretty good about looking ahead to see what's going on. So, Shawn, if 19 and 20 was on his radar coming into today, he's checking it out. But Shawn's not bowling good this game. He's on 11 and 12. He's got 84 in the 6th and a spare in the 7th. So it's not a good game for him right now. And Richie Teese, 99 in the 7th. I mean, what is going on around here, Phil?
It's that cliff is getting a little bit sharper for some of these players. It really is, because more of them are playing that area of the lane early on. They develop that down lane break point, and it starts, once that cliff opens up, they try to make that adjustment, and then that cliff starts coming back towards the bowler. We've seen some of these players where all of a sudden, on a 44-foot pattern, it's starting to pick up at 25, 28 feet on some of these shots.
And Greg Young, a 210 again. I mean, it could not get any worse for Greg Young this game. 4 splits now in 8 frames.
And 2 washouts.
I mean, good Lord.
And his last 2 splits are 210 combinations. It's pretty. If I was him in the 9th and 10th frame, I'd just throw it directly straight at the head pin.
Just try to make a couple of spares. I mean, wow, at 95 in the 8th for Greg. That's tough. You're a rookie. You made your first cut this weekend. You're on the cusp of making the next cut into match play, and you hit a bad pair. That's tough.
And now you got to go back and figure out what you're going to do for those last 2 games.
Yeah, still has a chance, of course. With a good finish. But man, he's digging himself a big hole right now. He's almost certainly going to be out of the number after this game.
Oh, there's no doubt. He finished with 100 over for his last 2 yesterday, though. We know he can do it.
Never know. Richie Teese, 107 in the 8th, just opened again. Some guys on fry alert right now. Richie's not really in the mix, though. He's in 33rd place. Belmo, I just caught a glimpse of him. He's down on 25 and 26. He had an open in the 6th, 124 in the 6th, the strike up in the 7th. So he can still punch for 244 this game. And Greg Young, just 210 again. 2810, sorry, even worse, I think. Wow. Greg Young might shoot 1 teen.
When every move you make is the wrong move, that can't help the confidence for the rest of the day.
See Brad Miller, he bowled 300 the first game this morning. That video is on FloBowling. If you'd like to check that out during the break, the last 3 shots of Brad Miller's 300 games, expertly put together by Greg Clark. Greg gives a thumbs up. 104 in the 9th for Greg Young.
I thought he was just Greg. I thought he was like Cher, Madonna. He was so good, it was just Greg. Well, Tackett slowing down a little bit more, but still in solid shape for match play. They talked about it. It's just getting yourself in position. Match play, anything can happen. You make that big run with solid games, and you just start jumping bodies left and right. I think if you would have told E.J. Tackett he would be in the top 10 at the end of Cash's round this morning, when we walked in the door this morning, he would have been absolutely fine with it. And he's going to be possibly inside the top 5 still after this game with the scoring pace. The field slowing down a bit this game. Wow, and Butturff just took out the 4-pin of the 2-4-6-7-10.
Yeah, I saw he left the split.
And that knocked him down to 205 for his final score. So a guy that really needed some momentum getting into the last 2 games just hit a wall. Wow, and another player on that pair just missed a 5-pin.
Yeah, things are getting crazy around here. Just when you think it's going to be a high-scoring day, things are going nuts. That guy owes some people a beer, I think.
I didn't have my hand up in time. Yeah, let's get over to
Yeah, can we go to 19 and 20?
Yeah.
So we can see how Greg finishes up here, because this has been a tough game for him. Got to find a way to save it here. I mean, you got to get a mark at least here in the 10th frame. He's left it 2-10 combination 3 times in a row. He slowed his ball speed down a little bit, it looked like, and gets the strike. And even Packy gives him the
That was easily
motivation.
3 miles an hour slower than anything we've seen to this point. And if you probably tried to do that to the next pair that he's going to.
Yeah, through the face, right?
Probably cross over.
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, you 2-10.
He goes
3
to
times.
20. He goes. We'll see him again next game. We'll see him on 23 and 24. So we'll keep an eye on his start.
You 2-10 3 times in a row. What are you going to do? I mean, you only have so many things you can do, especially at the end of a game. So I think he made the right move there to just slow it down a little bit, get it to pick up, and see if he can turn this into a double and get out of here with 130. Nah, he got it a little right. Tough game. Greg Young was in 13th place, plus 222, and he's going to lose about 100 pins on his plus and go to plus about 122. I mean, that's a big, not quite 100 pins, 80 pins.
Yeah.
So he'll go to about plus 140 or so.
And once again, now it's not just the number of pins you're behind; it's the number of bodies that are in the way, and we're gonna have some bodies moving around here. New faces coming in flow zone, couple familiar ones.
By the way, Zeke Bayt still crushing it.
Nah,
No
that's
surprise.
no surprise. Game 4 finishing up. Game 5 coming up next here in Cash's round. Shawn Rash absolutely befuddled he couldn't carry that strike when he missed the headpin. A little facetiousness from Shawn there as he steps up to make the spare after the opening turkey. No problem with the cover. Game scoring update in. Zeke Bayt remains your leader. 60-pin advantage for Bayt over Brad Miller. Plus 481 for Bayt, plus 421 for Miller. A.J. Johnson into third. Johnson 159 over on the day. Gets Johnson to plus 363. Don Barrett fourth at plus 355. Jake Peters plus 344. So those 5 players are pretty much guaranteed themselves getting into match play this afternoon. They just keep bowling well. They don't have to bowl great. They'll be fine. But it's a bit of ways back after Jake Peters at plus 344. Stu Williams plus 285. E.J. Tackett plus 282. Francois Lavoie plus 282 as well. Tom Daugherty in 9th at plus 264. Anthony Lavery-Spahr in 10th plus 257. Rest of your top 16, Troup, Lavery-Spahr, the Shawn variety, Burns, Barnes, Tang, and Pate. And that game in the 120s for Greg Young dropped him from 14th to 24th in a single game as Greg Young finds himself now at plus 145 on the event. So right now, Pate and Chapman are tied for 16th at plus 215. Tang just a pin ahead. Barnes just 10 ahead. Burns just 14 ahead. Lavery-Spahr of the Shawn variety just 14 ahead of that number as well. Going the opposite direction, Grondin finds himself 16 outside the number. Blanchard finds himself 24 outside the number. Belmonte 27 outside the number. Tommy Jones 34 outside the number. So there's still some players that are relatively close. They can still shake things up on that top 16. Stu Williams trying to shake up the scoreboard, looking for the front 6, and that one, you saw it. It actually kind of rolled up a bit early and then died. He thought that ball was going to come up. That's where sometimes hitting that cliff early in the lane, as it starts to develop back towards the bowler, all of a sudden your ball starts rolling up and losing energy at 28, 30, 32 feet, and it doesn't make it all the way back. Let's do the smart thing right there, though. Get the count, move on. So Belmonte still trying to make this charge to the top 16. Didn't have a lot of equipment to choose from this week. Had the golden shoes, though. You know, those always travel with him in his carry-on. happens with a lot of these players. They make sure they have their backpack or carry-on bag full of their bowling necessities with them at all times. I've heard some stories in the past of players traveling overseas to tournaments, even domestically, where all of a sudden they had shoes in a bowling bag, and the bowling bag gets to the wrong destination, and they're trying to either borrow someone else's shoes or even use house rental shoes to try to get through a professional event. You know what happened to Shawn Rash? I believe it was last year in Thailand. Got there and Shawn's shoes didn't make it in his checked bags. He had to borrow someone else's shoes for qualifying. Still bowled okay. Tang, yeah, he needs to keep striking. He's in a precarious situation in 15th place currently. And that ring 10 not going to help the cause as he's pacing in the 2-0s. And you need 220s to keep pace with what's going on for that top 16. That 4-pin tried to stand against the might of Stu Williams. How foolish of that 4-pin to try to do so, as it's met its fate. Yeah, it is going to be a lot of bodies trying to fight in for those last couple of spots in the top 16. We'll get you a 13-game scoring update once we're completed here. When there's going to be every pair in coverage is going to have somebody on it. It's going to be making a run towards the top 16, as close as this field is. So a single game of Cash's round remaining. Top 16 will advance after that next game into match play at 1:15 p.m. Eastern time this afternoon here, as the PBA Lubbock Sports Lubbock Sports Shootout, bang bang, presented by Ebonite, rolls on. That pair 19 and 20 is just sucking up pins away from bowlers' positive scores today, especially guys that are near the cut number. Nick Pate, guy on the number right now, 90 in the 8th. He's going to max out at 150. I knew that United Supermarkets runs a half dozen donut specials on Sundays here in Lubbock, but Nick Pate almost getting to that special. He's got 5 donuts on the board already. He's trying to avoid that 6th one. Not the time for that for Burns either. Burns 12th, but he was just 14 pins above Pate and Chapman. Chapman pacing 190 through 8 frames. And now Burns, super washout, doesn't convert this. He's in the 160s. Trying to figure out who's going to make the top 16 here. It's going to start looking like a conspiracy theory board. Yarn connecting different players at different situations. And Nick Pate, here he goes. He's falling back. Unbelievable for Pate. He has to spare a 248.10 to get into the 220, get into the 120s. He's looking at finishing at 115 if he gets 3 here. We're going to have to call 19 and 20. It's got a new nickname. It's now called the Jaws pair because it just eats you up like a shark. Doesn't leave any wreckage behind. Unbelievable. Another player chewed up by 19 and 20. Game 6 coming up next.
Then it took me 4 games to get to where I needed to be.
I think Shawn Rash just slipped Stu Williams a $100 bill to ask for the secret of shooting 260 on this pair. They're talking right now behind the lanes. Shawn and Darren Tang are just kind of chuckling at Stu's description of what's going on.
Actually, I bet if you switched over to the feed of 19 and 20, you could hear what they're saying. If you watching on FloBowling.
Oh, they just got done. So yeah, if you're watching outside the floor zone, if you were dual screening with the audio on, you would have gotten.
So if you're just tuning in, this is the nightmare pair where you either shoot 120 or 250. And Shawn Rash,
he's going to slow wheel. Let's see what happens.
Uh-oh. No problem. He says it's easy. He said the same pair cost him the show last year. 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Bowlers never forget.
Oh, no.
Pairs. So we'll see what happens. I mean, realistically, Shawn's got a lot of work to do to get to the number.
Yeah, 13-game update. Some pairs still finishing. Game 5, and there's somebody with a Kyle Troup's got an absolute ton going down on.
Oh. Shawn says we found our winner. Maybe Richie's the one who shoots 120 this game. Uh-oh. Darren Tang. 248 tag. Yeah. Shawn actually feels bad for Darren because he's in the number, so we'll see how this plays out. But this has not been a very good pair for these guys the last couple of games.
Yeah, Kyle Troup, he can shoot 277. He's stepping up in the 10th frame out of flow zone range on game 5 yet. So Kyle, he was in 11th. He's looking to solidify himself firmly into that top 10 for
shoot 270 puts him in the right up near the show number.
Yeah,
pretty close, but he never mind. He just 4.9. Way to go, Phil.
I can throw a black cloud at anybody. That's my favorite. My favorite video game on tour is when we're in Shawnee, Fire Lake Bowling Center. They have an actual video game where you actually throw a black cloud at the earth and try to cover the earth in a black cloud. It's
Shawn
beautiful.
Rash. Oh, look out! Got a double.
He's going for MVP of the tournament right now. Most valuable bowler.
Greg Young just walked by and said he was clean for the day until he hit that pair. And then he shot 120.
Let's see if Tease can bounce back.
Nope.
Right through the nose.
Tease is down near the bottom of the standings anyway. He's not gonna make it.
Get a row up. Chappers.
It's the bowling balls. Don Barrett's getting ready to walk past us. You're gonna hear it with him. Oh, no, he's getting an earful from Shawn Rash, about 19 and 20, I think.
There's the bounce back for Tang. Another strike now. He's just got to figure out the right lane. And everybody feels for these guys like Nick Pate and Greg Young that have been, the veterans like Rash. They've been there. They've thrown those games in situations like that, and they feel for him a little bit. And I'm sure they'll talk to him a bit after they're done about what happened.
Yeah, it's
but
tough.
For right now, it's job at hand for Shawn.
That's right. He still has a chance to make the cut if he can put up a big game. By the way, the reason we don't have a scoring update is because they're still bowling the 5th game down on the low end, and so we're a little bit ahead.
Yeah, they're just entering the 9th frame. Down with the Dick Allen and A.J. Johnson threesome.
Well, those guys had to make the move from, down on the high end to the low end, so it takes a little time. That's why they get a little behind down there.
It's amazing how pairs can suddenly go from bowlers' most hated pairs to their favorite pair in the world in just a few shots.
Yeah, I think Shawn...
If Shawn starts with the front 7, this could be his favorite pair in America.
Shawn came in with an expectation this pair was probably going to be bad for him, and it's not so far. So we'll see.
No breaks for Richie.
I know Shawn shot 230 last game, and he was in 31st place plus 115, so he's 145 over. The cut number was 215, so you got to think Shawn needs a really big, probably 270, 260, 270 to even have a shot or even a chance. Probably more, maybe even more than that.
Oh, Tang lucky to shake the 10 down on that. Leaving just the 8 pin. That was almost a 2-8-10.
Jakob Butturff spare triple to start this game, and Richie Teese misses the spare.
Well, if he strikes at his next shot or gets 5, he's got the straight for his Yahtzee scorecard for Richie Teese on the first ball. He's got the 6, 7, 8, 9 down already for counts. Yeah, it was interesting talking to Richie yesterday about how he flew in from England just for this tournament, and he's flying back tomorrow.
Wow.
So
that's dedication to the PBA Tour right there.
Yeah. So he'll take the 5-hour drive back to Oklahoma City, and he'll have the nonstop.
There it is for Shawn, the 2-8. It's big trouble for him. Oh, do you think Butturff can make a run at this thing? He loves this building. He's got spare 4-bagger. You know, he's probably going to need to take it off the sheet to get there. I don't know. What did he bowl last game? I'm not sure. Shawn misses it.
Yeah, I didn't see what Butturff was at.
We'll get the update soon enough. I think they're just finishing up.
Yeah,
should get it pretty soon.
Yeah, they're in their 10th frame down on 5 and 6.
So once they finish, we'll get those scores pretty quick, I would think. The update. Well, that's going to just about knock Shawn out of the running to make the cut.
Yeah, he had a pair in game 4 that he just wasn't happy with. A couple of these pairs this morning. 11 and 12 has been another one where it's feast or famine. These guys are shooting a ton and they're not doing anything. Yeah, Shawn had 157 and 11 and 12 in game 4. So
yeah, that kind of killed him.
It's just amazing where you see in the same game a 260 and a 114 on the same pair, or a 250 and a 123. I mean, there's been outside of flow zone coverage, there's a couple of those pairs that way. 11 and 12's kind of been that way as well.
Last game.
No love on the 7 for Shawn Rash. Once again, even though it's a day after her birthday, I'm still wishing Diana Rash another happy birthday. She deserves it. Hope it was a great day for you yesterday, Diana. I hope it still is going to be an okay day for you today, too, even with Shawn not making the next round here in Lubbock. He'll be back home shortly enough to spend some time with his family.
Next round starts in an hour and a half, right?
1:15 Eastern, 12:15 here in Lubbock.
That'll be 8 games of match play. And then the top 4 make the step ladder.
Yep. Fresh application of the Billy Hardwick pattern will happen between rounds.
Butturff strikes again. 5 in a row.
Yeah, it's over in 23 and 24. We'll peek in on that next time he's up. I still can't believe the picture from the Weber Cup of Jakob Butturff turning his feet practically fully backwards while standing in the opposite direction.
Butturff 8 pins behind the number going into the last game.
That's easy pickings, and the number went down.
Belmo now in the number.
Yeah. Barnes still in. Chapman's still in, even with being 61 under on the day for Chapman.
Yeah, the number was 215 and went down to 209.
Yeah. Problem is, there's so many guys that are close right now. There's 6 guys or 5 bowlers within 15 pins of Chapman underneath them. And you go 20 pins the other way, and there's 5 players there with Tang, Lavery-Spahr, Belmonte, Barnes, and Chapman. I don't have roller skates with me today. We'll get as many as we can, but to predict the cut.
Pete's been doing a good job getting the scores updated pretty quickly, so we'll have it pretty quick after they finish. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Darren Tang is kind of in a little bit of trouble here. He's plus 229, so right now he's about 20 pins or so above the cut number, and he's only got 84 in the 5th. He can only max at 224, and that's if he strikes out on this really tough pair. I think Jakob Butturff, you can go ahead and write his name in. He's got spare 6-bagger. He's only 8 pins off the number. He's going to make it. I'd be shocked if he doesn't.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of our pairs here in flow zone coverage done prior to
Looks like
the low end getting done. The low end's just
one
getting
pair.
in the way.
Yeah, we'll have one pair that's just gotten started that'll be a little behind the rest of the flow pairs, but yeah, most of them are pretty far ahead. So Rash is out. He's not going to advance. Teese is out. He won't advance. Tang still hanging on by the hair on his chinny chin.
Yeah. Shawn Maldonado, now he's got a 4-bagger. Maldonado, the man just outside the number. He's on 17 and 18 between our pairs. Maldonado's 75 in the 4th, but a 4-bagger up after that, so he can still get 255. That would be a well done at leapfrog, and we can't even count Tom Daugherty as being in yet. Just on the basis of you hit a pair where you shoot 150, you're going right back out. Shawn Lavery-Spahr is on the same pair with Maldonado. Lavery-Spahr plus 261, so he's got a bit of a cushion, and Lavery-Spahr is clean with a double through 7, so that's going to keep him safe. If he just keeps filling frames, he's 2-0. That's fine. 261 over, he'll be fine.
See, on this pair, you've got Devin Bidwell, who is in 23rd place, currently 39 pins back in the number. And then Troup is well inside the number. He's in 8th place at plus 284. He's about 80 pins above the cut, so he's in good shape.
Butturff just tossed another one.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's in. He may even make a run at the show, knowing Butters. Sneak into that cut and then make it all the way through.
Oh, once, and he'll be lone lefty out there. There's no other lefties. There's only a couple other in the field right now, but you get that left side pristine to yourself, moving from pair to pair. And we know how much Butturff likes throwing urethane. And if he gets the fresh surface on every pair in match play, watch out.
Yep.
So Troup just trying to keep working his way up in the top 10. He's currently in 8th, plus 284.
Yeah, he's in good shape.
Yeah, the guys that are in, Bayt, Miller, Peters, Williams, Barrett, Johnson, Tackett, they're all at 327 or above for the plus. So I don't see E.J. Tackett shooting a 68 game to fall out.
His Troup is looking pretty good. He had that big last game. He's got the front 3. He's in solid position. But this guy right here, he's putting on his striking shoes, making a move here. And 7 pin goes down. Another strike. 8 in a row. After starting with a spare, he can go 290 this game. Make a big move.
Yeah, I'm writing it in ink right now.
Yeah, he can go to 291 over if he strikes out, which is probably going to be top 10.
And if he opens, he's still going to shoot, 250 if he opens, and that's still 250 over. That's going to make it. I think Daugherty, if he shoots par this game and stays at plus 251, I think Daugherty's in pretty easy. I mean, guys like Darren, Tang. I mean, Tang's right now, he's on 19 and 20, and Tang right now needs a spare. And right now, Tang's pacing 184.
Yeah,
that's not going to help.
He's in trouble. He gets you 2-0 if he strikes out. May or may not be enough. We'll find out. Daugherty's on 3 and 4. I don't see a lot of strikes down there. I don't see any strings.
Chapman as well. I'll go take a peek.
So we're in our final game here of the Cashers round. Cut being made from 39 players to 16 for match play this afternoon, which starts in about an hour and a half. Troup working on 3 in a row to start this game. Right now he's comfortably inside the number. Stepladder finals scheduled for 4:15 p.m. Central, 5:15 p.m. Eastern here on FloBowling. And Kyle with another one. If we can jump to 23 and 24, got Jakob Butturff, 10th frame, going for potentially a 290 game. Gets the first one in the 10th. Phil, what's the update?
Let's see. Tom Daugherty, 1 open, no doubles through 6.
Not great.
Cam Doyle is, I'm sorry, not Cam Doyle. AJ Chapman, clean, no doubles through 5.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of strikes down there.
Yeah. So, but, I mean, Maldonado right now, he's going to be in the 230s. He's going to leap in. Butturff's going to leap in. Barnes right now is open, spare, and he's looking at a 3-6 combo on 11 and 12 that he just picked up.
Butters, second shot in the 10th, 7 pin, so he will not shoot 290. He's going to be 279 with the spare, and he'll be comfortably inside the number. He'll go from plus 201 to plus 280 if he makes the spare, and that's going to be good enough to maybe even get him near the top 10.
I'm going to go check on Belmo. He's way up in 35 and 6.
Yeah, Belmo's another big name we're watching. He's in 14th place, plus 226, about 20 pins inside the cut right now. As we start to wrap things up, Darren Tang, 7 pin. He is in trouble. Tang at plus 229, and he is going the wrong direction this game. Butturff with the spare, and he makes the big move today. You can see the sigh of relief. He's made the cut into match play. 279 final game for Jakob Butturff as he makes that move up the leaderboard today. Coming into today, Jakob Butturff, he was in, let's see, 18th place. So he was out of the number coming into the day by just a little bit, but he makes his move and he gets in thanks to a really big finish. He goes 237, 279 the last 2 games, and that helps Jakob Butturff make this cut by going more than 100 over in his last 2. Phil.
Belmo pacing 218 with a 248 max through 7 frames, up on 35 and 36. Tommy Jones was trying to make a run, but Tommy Jones is pacing 190, so Jones probably not going to be able to make that big leap.
Yeah, if Belmo shoots in the 220s, he's going to be in. So we'll keep an eye on that. Phil's checking out the scores. It's going to be tough to know who's in, who's out. There's so many guys that are in the mix, and they're all spread out across a 40-lane bowling center, so it's hard to know. But Phil's being Phil, running around the bowling center, trying to find those scores. Keep you guys informed. Wide right there for Bidwell. A lot of our flow pairs are wrapping up here. (19 and 20). Darren Tang got the first one in the 10th. This is a big shot for Darren as he tries to stay in the number. Really needs it here, and he gets the 10 to go. Double for Darren Tang. That gets him to possibly 193 with a strike on the fill. He's going to give some pins back. With a strike, he will still be at plus 222, and that may or may not be enough. We're going to have to find out. I'm guessing he'll probably be okay, but it's really tough to tell.
A.J. Chapman, big turkey, frames 5, 6, and 7.
That's bad news for Darren Tang, I think.
So Tom Daugherty, he's got a 3-bagger on the board now, frames 5, 6, and 7 as well. So Daugherty, even though he's got a little cushion, he's not going to use up too much of it. And Tang is, I think he's done.
Well, he's at 220 now,
yeah.
And Shawn Maldonado was 205 and shot 223, so he went around him. That's bad news for Darren Tang, as Maldonado gets to 228. Butturff went around him. So then, you know, we start looking at other guys like Joseph Grondin, Dylan Burns, Tommy Jones, Bill O'Neill. Bill O'Neill, 215. He's not going to get there. So, you know, I don't know where TJ's at.
Burns is on 25 and 6. He's the right bowler on 25 and 6. They just got
He shot 256.
There you go. So
that's another one around
in.
Tang. So, yeah, it's not looking good for Darren Tang right this moment.
Where's Grondin here? Grondin's on the same pair with Belmo. Let me go take a look at where Belmo's at again.
And then Tommy Jones, if you know where he's at.
Yeah, he's on the same pair with Belmo as well. Yeah, Tommy was struggling. I don't know if he's going to get there.
So that's a big pair, that pair right there. Phil's going to go check it out and see. But we already know that Maldonado, Butturff, and it looks like Burns have jumped into the number, and they were out of it coming into this game. And Darren Tang looks like he may have backed up out. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be close. hour and 15 minutes or so from the start of match play here in Lubbock. We will crown a champion here this afternoon live on FloBowling. And Phil is back with an update.
Grondin's not going to have enough. He's going to be a 201 max.
Right.
Belmo just stepped up. He's spared, and Belmo's still pacing 210. Tommy Jones still has a chance for a game in the 220s. He's stepping up right now. I'll go take a peek and see what he's doing here.
220 would put Tommy Jones at plus 214. I don't think that would be enough. So he would need a little more than that. We'll see. Phil's going to go check it out again as we're wrapping up here. We've got one pair left on our flow coverage, and that is 15 and 16. The only one on this pair who's going to advance is going to be Kyle Troup. Troup sitting in 8th place plus 284 coming into this game. And he's having a big game. 4-bagger, 7-spare, double through 7 for Kyle Troup. And guess who's back? Back again, it's Phil.
Yeah, Belmo got the first one in the 10th, so he can max at 228. He's at 218 if he spares.
Yeah, he's going to be good.
Tommy Jones max is 231 with a punch out in the 10th.
Okay, so that's going to be big for him, because
yeah.
if he goes 231, that's going to put him at plus 225, and that's going to be near the number. We don't know for sure yet.
Let me go check on Chapman again.
See somebody with the front 7 here this last game. Take a look and see. It's off our flow pairs. It looks like it's A.J. Johnson has the front 7. Chris Barnes is another one who's near that cut number at plus 210, and Barnes is in a little bit of trouble here. He's 114 in the 6th, and he's just left a single pin in the 7th. So Barnes' max is 224, I think. Let's see. Well, yeah, 224 is the max for Barnes with 3 frames to go. Phil's back.
Yeah, Chapman, nothing but strikes from the 5th through the 11th. He'll be in the 250s. He's in.
He's in, okay. So Chapman's going to be in. It's going to be an interesting finish here. We had some really nice scores by some of the guys who were outside the number coming into this game, and it's just going to be a matter of who drops back. Barnes, if he strikes out, he'll be 224. That would get him to plus 234. And that would keep him ahead of guys like Maldonado and Jones, assuming Jones were to strike out. Phil just went down to check on that. Dick Allen was in 25th place plus 151 coming in to this game, and Dick's having an okay game. But he can only strike out, it looks like, for 229. So that is not going to be enough for Dick Allen, who won back in January. And Phil is back with another update.
Yeah, Tommy Jones, 2-8 first ball of the 10th frame, so 211 max. Tommy's done.
Yeah, he's done. Winding things down here. Phil's going to come back and sit down and rest his feet, it looks like. And I'm going to step out because I've got to go do an interview with a player. So I'll let Phil take over from here.
It's tag team weekend here inside of South Plains Lanes. Thanks for holding us in there, Lucas. And, yeah, some big shots from Barnes, boy. 211. That's going to be tough. He's off camera. We'll give you the radio call. He's spared in the 8th on a 3-6-10, and he needs to strike out 9th and 10th for 211. And Dick Allen at plus 151. Dick Allen can start out for 239. That's just not going to be enough for the man who won here in January. So we should know our top 16 very quickly once these last couple of groups are completed. If there is a tie for 16th position, it will be rolled off immediately with a one-game roll-off to break that tie. So we'll have that top 16 coming back for you in match play. That's coming up to you at 1:15 Eastern time, so a short break. Grab a quick bite to eat, get yourself a brand new beverage, and join us for some exciting round-robin match play action shortly here for the PBA Lubbock Sports Shootout presented by Ebonite. For the FloBowling crew, I'm $2 Phil. Parents take the kids bowling because they'll have fun for life. We'll see you back here in a little while.